But you just really want to make sure that you like who. Fine, leave. All right, so let's talk grad school today because I know all of you are so excited to continue on with the learning process and the studying and all of that fun stuff. But in all seriousness, it really helps to have an idea of what the process is going to look like and kind of what you can do to stand out in the grad school application process. So I'm going to cover a few areas: the timeline, the essays that you have to submit, knowing what's required, the type of experience that might help, as well as why it's important to know a little bit about advisors you might want to work with. My experience was from applying to counseling psychology PhD programs, so some experience may be specific to that, but there are a lot of generalized areas like the GRE and things like that. So let's jump right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the timeline. Definitely knowing when your applications are due. Generally, that's around December or the winter time. So I know a lot of people might put off preparing, but that can make the process so much more stressful. So if the applications are due mid-December, I recommend starting no later than early October in terms of starting your essay and definitely asking references to write letters. The worst thing is having everything that you need and then waiting on your letters of reference and not knowing if they're going to come in time. So create a calendar and list all of the different deadlines for the different schools that you're applying to. There could be some deadlines earlier in December, some later in December. Focus on the ones that are the soonest. Seems pretty obvious. And then make sure that you are taking the GRE in time. So some people take the GRE their junior year or others the summer before senior year. And you can actually retake it more than once, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to take the GRE within like 2 weeks or 3 weeks of each other because you really haven't had time to study and actually do anything to improve your scores unless you just had a really bad day when you took the GRE. So make sure that you get that in time so that you'll be able to list your scores and retake if you desire. All right. The next tip is also one that might sound obvious, but some people kind of miss out on some of the specifics that a site might want. So know what is needed. Every grad school application is going to require a GRE, some references, and either a personal essay and or interest letter, but others might ask for more specific things. So make sure that you're reading thoroughly because one school might ask for something extra that a different school didn't ask for. There also are some psychology programs that ask for a psychology-specific exam to take, so replacing the GRE with that specific exam. So definitely make sure that if there's a school or two that requires a different type of exam, you've taken that. Something that I wish I would have done, but either was kind of naive in the process or maybe just thought, oh, I don't want to do that, is make sure you're applying to a range of schools. So you might have some competitive schools at the top of your list, some kind of medium schools in the middle, and then maybe some backup plans. And if you're applying to PhD programs, you might want to make sure that you also apply to some master's programs. In the moment, you might think, oh, I don't want to do that. But it's better to have options than later in the end kind of have no options and wish that you'd done it. And also, a lot of times people are told, you would be accepted into our PhD program, but first we'd like you to get your master's. And so that's something to consider because they just want you to get some extra research experience, and that isn't a bad thing. All right, the personal essay. So this is such an important part because a lot of people feel stuck. They're like, I don't know what to write about. This is going to depict so much to people who don't even know me. So a few do's and don'ts with the essay. You want it to be genuine. You really want this to be a chance to reflect your personality, why you like that program, your research experience, kind of why you'd be a good fit. So you're showing them, hey, this is why I'm a good match, and this is a little bit about me. So you want to describe why you love what you love. So it seems kind of self-explanatory, but some people are so kind of desperate or gung-ho about getting into a specific program that they're willing to say what they think they need to say in order to do it. And let me tell you, you don't want to be stuck somewhere for 4 to 6, maybe more years just because you thought that sounded like a good school if it wasn't a good fit. So for example, if you are applying to a program and you find out that they really only focus on child psychology, but you are not a fan of kids, don't write an essay about how much you love working and supporting kids, because then you're going to get there and you're going to have to work and support kids and you're not going to enjoy what you have to do. Make sure that when you talk about research experience, you also talk about why that is applicable to their program or how you might mold what you've done to kind of fit research interests of different advisors at their program. Definitely just make sure that you are selling yourself, but not selling a fake version of yourself. I have 2 more suggestions. So the first one is to make sure that you get research or lab experience sooner rather than later. So obviously someone can tell if the semester before applying to grad school you quickly joined a lab and did a little bit of data entry. You want to be able to talk about the lab experience in a way that shows excitement for it, and a lot of professors are pretty good at noticing if there's kind of a fakeness about that. You can look into getting into labs or different research groups by emailing or reaching out to some of your favorite professors and seeing what they know about research experience, asking if they have a lab, asking if you can sit in on a lab, and maybe not just joining the first available lab, but trying out a few and seeing what might fit for you, so that when you talk to professors during interviews, you actually have some experience to lean on. And my final point is also my most important point. So when you are looking at the different professors at different institutions, you want to be able to name a few and know what they've done and why you think you'd be a good fit to work with them. So my error was I was like, oh, I think this one person looks great. And then I went in, and luckily that one person was taking people, but sometimes professors aren't taking students for their labs or are full that year. And so you want to make sure you have somebody else that you can talk to and know their background. There's nothing that professors love more than you citing their research or mentioning things they've done. So you want to be able to talk about that in an excited fashion and genuine fashion. You don't want to be in the interview quickly Googling who the professors are so that you can see if you might have a similar match. And then you might even want to talk about the specific professors in any letter of intent that you write and talk about why your research experience would lend itself well to what they're doing now. Ms. Mila Girl joined us. She was my grad school kitty, so I got her when I started grad school to keep me company. But you just really want to make sure that you like who you get matched with for your advisor. You want to make sure that you can see yourself having a relationship with them. You're going to be working with them over the next 4+ years, and they probably will serve on your dissertation committee. So you aren't thinking about those things when you apply, but it makes it way easier years down the line to have found a good fit and match rather than just took what you could. So I hope that these tips were helpful. If there's any other tips you'd like me to break down or explain more or talk more about my personal grad school experience, I'm happy to do that. Feel free to comment different topics that you'd find interesting, and definitely give this video a like and subscribe. Thank you.